Spywares. Spywares is a program that records users' interaction with the computer and internet without the user's knowledge and send them over the internet to attackers. It is similar to the Trojan horse, which is usually bundled is a hidden as a hidden component of freeware programs that can be available on the internet for download. Spywares is a stealthy and hidden hides process files and other objects in order to avoid removal. It allows attacker to gather information about a victim or organization such an email addresses, user login, passwords, credit cards, number bankings, credentials, and etc. Basically, spywares are like softwares. It is a software, but it do the spy things. That is why it is called spywares. And it is also like a Trojan horses. Trojan horses is a viruses is a kind of viruses which do what malwares. It do what it steals the information from the user. It keeps monitoring the user's information and on the computer and make this information send this information to attackers. Normally spywares are for the organizations also. They use this to monitor the activity of their employees, and also parents also use these spywares to monitor the child activity or child web activities, like what they are doing on web, what sites they are visiting and all that. So these are also spywares and also Trojans. So what spywares, how these spywares or these malwares comes into our system? It comes by drive by download. Like you can download any program, and with that download, these spywares can come into your system. So how these spywares are propagation? So it can masquerade as an anti-spyware also. It can also be masqueraded as a anti-spyware. Like it will give you the notification. You go to some site and it will give you the notification like you are infected with some spyware, and to remove these spywares you need this anti-spyware software. And when you download that anti-spyware software, it is actually the spyware. Then it can comes with the web browser vulnerability exploits. If your browser is not secure, it is vulnerable, then it can download and execute those things which should not be executed. Remember, when you download something, it should not be executed automatically. It should be first asked for your permission that whether it should be executed or not. Some browsers vulnerability, these spywares use some vulnerabilities of the browsers and executes their self. And when they execute their self, then they get control of your system. It can come piggybacked software installation. Like you install some pirated software. Mostly it comes with the pirated software. So you install the pirated software. With the software, it is the hidden spyware comes with the software. Then it comes as a browser add-ons. It can come as a cookies also. So what does the spyware do? So first, it steals users' personal information and send it to remote server or hijack it. Monitor users' online activity, display online annoying pop-ups, redirects a web browser to advertising sites, change the web browser's default setting and prevent the user from restoring it. Add several bookmarks to the web browser favorite list. Decrease the overall system security level. It reduces the system performance and causes software instability, connects to remote pornography sites, places desktop shortcuts to malicious spyware sites, change home pages, and prevent the user from restoring it. Modifying the dynamically linked libraries and slow down the browser. Then changes firewall settings, monitor and report websites you visit. These are the spywares do basically. Now what kind of spywares we have? Types of spywares. We have desktop spywares, email internet spyware, child monitoring spyware, screen capturing spyware, audio spyware, GPS spyware, telephone cell phone spyware, print spyware, video spyware, USB spyware. Now these are the separate categories of spywares, but some of the spyware do all of these things. For example, this is spyware, SpyTech, Spy Agent, and also we can say Power Spy. It can do almost all those things, all those different spyware do. Like desktop spyware monitor the desktop activity. Email and internet spyware monitors the email internet's activity. Child monitoring spyware monitor the child's activity, like which sites it is going, how long it is using the machine and all that. Screen capturing can also be helpful for monitoring the child or spying on the desktop. So these desktop spyware can also do capture the screens. Then it can also capture the audios also. Then it can also record the location, GPS location. Then telephone spyware also, these comes with the telephones to monitor the telephone activity. Print spyware can monitor the printers print jobs. What are the print jobs coming and going to the printer, and what the pages they want to print. Video spywares can also record the videos from your machine. So some of the spyware can do all those things. One of these are like SpyTech, Spy Agent, or we can say Power Spy. It can do almost lots of things. But remember, these are like industrial use. These are for the industrial use. Like for the organizations, they want to monitor the activity of their employees, so they can use these softwares. So they are not free. You will get the trial version for this, but if you want to use a full version, then you have to purchase it, so that you can monitor all these different activities, all these different features you can use. Now these softwares are also, they work also as a stealth version, stealthy. That means they don't display itself also. Now this is Power Spyware, and when I open this, it says run as administrator. So with administrator rights, you can check, delete and export logs, change settings, and have complete access to the software. So I say okay, yes, run. And now it says set up the login password. Now set up login, and wait, and it is going for the internet also. As I said, they are not free. Now first it is saying set up a password to log in the software. The password can include uppercase, lowercase, letters and numbers. So let's set the password for accessing the software. Okay. Now password is created. You will use it to log in with this software. So the password is what I created. Now it says register your product. As I said, these are not free, so you have to register it, and for that you have to purchase it. Now I'm going it to do later, so I'm going to use the trial version. So this is what Power Spy, and this is the control panel for the Power Spy. Now what it can do here, it can take the screenshot, it can do the keyloggers, it can also work as a keylogger, it can execute some applications, it can monitor Facebook, website visited, chats, Yahoo Messengers, email, clipboards, it will copy, documents, microphone, and it can export the logs, and it can delete the logs also. We have option to start the monitoring, we have the option to stealth mode, which will hide itself. It will hide itself to the user. User will not see that this software is there. We can do configure it, about, and uninstall it. So if you go for the configuration, so you have option to choose this stealth mode. It will run the software in the complete stealth mode and set hotkey to unhide the software from the stealth mode. So if it is on stealth mode, then how you want to unhide the software, because it will be hidden completely from the user's view, so it will not show up anywhere in the system. So if you want to visible, if you unhide the software, then this is the keyboard shortcut you want to use. You have to use Control Alt plus which key you can change it. You can change it to any. Then remind me of the hotkey before the stealth mode is started. So it is going to remind you whenever you start the stealth mode. It is going to remind you that please set the unhide key. If you don't set, it is going to use this one. Enable password protection the software. Password to protect the software. That means if someone mistakenly clicks this key combination, then the software will comes up, but they have to provide the password which we have configured. Otherwise it will easy to see that user will see that what are the logs there and what are the screenshots there. Now what logs are reports? So these are the selects what you want to log. So these things you want to log, alphanumeric keys, document opened, screen snapshot, Yahoo Messenger chat, system keys, administrators, website visited, microphone, these. Then after a report is sent to an email or FTP, delete the report from your hard disk, delete log data from the software control panel. So it is going to send the report. What it is going to log, it is going to send it to the location which we configure, like email address, or we can configure any FTP server. So it is going to upload this log information to that server or send it to mail, and then what it will do, it will delete it from the hard disk, and it will also delete it from the control panels, this software's control panel also. Then this is the setting for the screenshots. It will capture the screens every 3 seconds. Image format will be this, image size will be this, save maximum up to this images on hard disk. Capture type will be entire computer desktop screen, or you can say active windows also. You can configure it. Then stop screenshot when the computer is ideal, that means when nobody is using the computer, then it should not take the screenshot, because after 3 seconds it is taking the screenshots. Then send images to email address or FTP server. It is not selected, but you want, then you can send the images also, because there is a limit screenshot packet to this MB per delivery. Why it is not selected by default? Because these images size can be big. So if you are sending it on email, you are having a limit of some data, that you can upload only this size of attachment. So it is only that limit it is allowed. So we can allow that limit. Then we can do exclude some things, like if you want to exclude some user from here, that this user should not be monitored, then you can exclude that user from here. Otherwise it is going to monitor everyone. Now this is the delivery option where you want to send your reports. So you have to it is not selected here, so you have to configure it. Like if you want to send it to mail address, then you will configure the email address setting here, like send to this email address, the SMTP host will be this, and the send from will be this, username will be this, the password for the user is this, subject of the logs will be this, port number will be 25 because SMTP, and the password you want to use for the user account to upload. Then upload the report to FTP. If you want to upload it to FTP, then what is the FTP server host, what is the port number, which directory you want to share, which directory you want to upload this, and what will be the FTP user name. Then this is the task scheduler. This is to monitor the task scheduler. Like you can start the task and you can configure the task for some specific thing. We have not changed anything. Now it is going to use all these things, so I will start. This will start normally. It will not go stealthy, that means it will not hide itself, and this will hide itself. So let's see. We will hide itself. We will start stealthy. Now when I say stealthy, it says monitor is not started yet. Do you still want to start stealth mode? I say okay, yes. Now again it is reminding me that this is the hot key. This is the key which you press to unhide this. Press the 3 keys together on your keyboard, that is Ctrl Alt X. So it will unhide the software. Now confirm, are you remember this? Are you remember the key? Otherwise it will not come up. Huh? So yes, I remember it. It is X, Ctrl Alt X. So I say yes. Now it is hidden. Now what it is showing here, monitored by this, and I cannot remove this. Now why I cannot remove this? Because it is not registered. So if I purchase this, then in stealthy mode you will not see anything like this, or you will not see anything. So you will not see anything like this. Now here it is not a purchase version, it is a trial version. So it is showing here this window that you have to this monitor device the power this the power spy is on. So otherwise it will not show anywhere here. So if you go to check it anywhere, it is not going to show you that there is no on the desktop, and it is not showing here anything. If you go to the task manager, so it is also not showing anything. It is showing printer here. Now here in the detail, if you see, now here under this task manager detail, these are the process, and if you see, try to see where is this super spy. So it is not showing here. It is not showing here because it is under the stealth mode. Now whatever we do here, it is going to be monitored. For example, I will go to some site, but I'm going to google.com. Then whatever I type here, so I'm typing this, searching this, or maybe I visit some sites. So this is what something I did. Now I'll go to open some notepad. I will type something here. Now remember the shortcut key, the key to unhide that software. Now okay, okay, now to unhide it, the key was Control Alt plus X, and now when I press, it comes here and it says that you have to run it as administrator. So I say okay, yes. Now it will ask the password. So if I know the password, then I can open it, and if I don't know the password, if suppose mistakenly I press that combination of key, so it brings this up, but if you don't know the password, you can't open it. But I know the password, and let's see. So okay, letter. So what it shows here, let's check the screenshots. So first stop the monitoring here and then go check what it has monitored. So these are the screenshots we can see. Like from the beginning, it was started like this when we started the monitoring. So before going into the stealth mode, first we have to start the monitoring. So when we select this start monitoring here, it was start monitoring and it has taken the screenshot. Then the next screenshot is to hide it. We select on hide, and then it says confirm you want to hide it. I say yes. The next screenshot says that it is hidden. Then this screenshot says that I go to here, I click on this, then this browser's open. Now you want to go to as a slideshow also, so that it will show you in slideshow. It will be like this. So what happened, first we started the monitoring here. First, before going into stealth mode, we have to start the monitoring. So it will start the monitoring, and if you want to go to stealth mode, then you can click on stealth mode. Otherwise you can just click here to minimize it. It will go into the tray and it will remain there. It will show there, but it will not go to the stealth mode, and it will monitor everything. But if you want to go to the stealth mode, then you can click here and it will go to stealth mode. It will ask you to go to the stealth mode. Are you confirm? Remember the key, and you confirm. You say yes, and it will go to stealth mode, and then it will record what you do. So as I do this, I open this, I go to type Google, then on Google I type this, I open the site, then I went on to open the notepad here, then on notepad I type these things, then I close this, then I close this, then I unhide this software, run as administrator, provide the password, and then I stop the monitoring. It says please stop the monitoring first, so I stop the monitoring, and this is the last screenshot. So you see it is taking the whole screenshots here. Then keystrokes, it works as a keylogger. So what happened here, so first administrator log on name administrator, content, this is my credit card, this is the, on the notepad I type these things. You can see simple, this is the notepad, no title, location of the exe which is run, and this is what the key which I press shift, then I press this, my credit, then I go backspace, and then I type T, then card number, and this. So I open the notepad here, I went on to run, then I go to google.com, enter, then I press this, what is my spyware, left R, then Windows caption, what is this, and this, I open the site here on Edge browser, and I was working on Microsoft Edge. So this is what in keyloggers, which applications I execute. So I execute these are the applications, like these are running in the background. So we can see this notepad I have executed, these are the different setups it is running, and this is what actually powers Spy's software. Website visited, so I have not visited any website. I went through the Google, Yahoo Messenger I have not opened, Skype I have not opened, documents I have created one document on notepad, and this is the content of the document. We can see the content also. Clipboard, if I have some copy something, so it will be shown here. Then administrators, it is stopping, running, stopping, these stealth mode and anything. Microphone, and also it has actually recorded the Microsoft from a Microsoft microphone. It has also recorded some audio also, but in a trial version it only records 3-minute audio at most each time, and after that it stops automatically and requires restart monitoring. So you can register the product to record unlimited full-length audio. Click play button to play the selected file. So if you want to play, then you can click the play button, which is here. And then we click on this, and this is my own voice. And this is my own voice when I was recording this monitor. I enabled this monitor. Facebook we have not went, email we have not used. So this is what simple super spy, and it do what it monitors all these things. So how you will monitor? You just have to start this monitoring to start the monitoring, but it will remain in the foreground. It will not go stealthy. But if you want to put it on stealthy mode, then you can click on here to make it stealthy. But because it is not purchased, it is trial version, it always show you here that the Power Spy is there, monitored by Power Spy. And if you try to remove it, it says you have to purchase it. So under the trial version, you will see this. And it will always remain here. Just like this Power Spy, we are also having this SpyTech Spy Agent. It is also the same thing it do. It do also the same things, like it will do monitor the keyboard, mouse is Windows open, program run, it will take the screenshot, it will monitor the mail, web searching. It can also use the mic, it can record the mic, it can record the video also. And this one can record the video. This is Super Spy is not having a video option, but this one is also having the video option. It can also record the videos. So this is the single software, and it is doing all the other options also, like for the spywares. Like we have different spywares for the different purpose. Like we have spyware for the activities. These are the different other spywares. We have USB spywares which do monitor the USBs. Then you have audio spywares which is dedicated for monitoring these audio things. Then we have video spywares, we have telephone, cell phone spywares. It will do monitor the telephone, cell phone. Then GPS spyware will monitor the GPS location. Now how to defend against the keylogger first? Software keyloggers countermeasure. Now install anti-spyware antiviruses program and keeps the signature up to date. So first thing is to install the anti-spyware or antivirus. So if you're having a proper antivirus and updated antivirus, that means which has the updated signatures for all the other malwares and spywares. So it can detect those malwares or spywares or keyloggers very easily. Then install a host-based IDS which can monitor your system and disable the installation of keyloggers. Now remember, these anti-spywares and antiviruses, these can detect these keyloggers based on the signature. Based on the signature and signature, they have a database of the signature. Now how they come up with this signature and how they come up with the database of signature? Because they identified some of the keyloggers. Now if suppose the hacker created the new keylogger software and it has created the totally new code, totally new program, totally new code, then it will not have a signature of in any anti-spyware or any antiviruses. Then it will not be able to detect it. So when it comes into your system and we try to install it, when it is installed in your system, it is not being detected. So we can have the host-based IDS. These IDS based on the activity of the keylogger. Based on the activity of the keylogger, it can detect the keylogger. Because it is not detected when it comes and installed, because it is new code. But when it try to do the job, try to do the keylogging and try to use the malicious code, then it will be detected by the IDS thing. Then install good professional firewall software and anti-keylogger software. So whatever keylogger software or anti-keylogger software or the firewall you are using, you should use the professional good firewall. Then recognize the phishing emails and delete them. Now phishing emails is a part of the social engineering. It is a fake emails which lure you to do some malicious things. Like it will lure you that it will tell you, you will see the mail and it will tell you that you have won this amount of money and you have to click here, or you have to provide this, or suppose it will send you the link for some software and will say that your machine is infected with this, and you should scan the machine for this virus, and this is the free scanner we have. And when you download this scanner, it is what it is itself a spyware, it is itself a trojan, and you will be infected. You can get the email of the whole post, you will get the blog, the whole blog, and it will tell you about the virus. It will say that this is the new virus came, and it has this features, and it will do this, it will do that, it is not easily detected, and this and that. And if you want to know that your system is infected with this virus or not, then you should scan your system with this our free anti-spyware scanner. Now when you download that anti-spyware scanner, it is itself a spyware, it is itself a keylogger. And then what it will do, it will infect your machine, and it will say that there is no problem in your system. Then you should keep your hardware system resources secure, keep your system secure in a locked environment, and frequently check the keyboard cables for the attached connector. So if suppose attacker is trying to connect the hardware keylogger, so it is going to connect in your hardware machine. So you should have to lock your hardware machines. Your machine should not be easily accessible for anyone. And also regularly you should check the machines and hardware of the machine then, and the connectors which is connected to the system. Choose new password for different online accounts and change them frequently. So if even suppose your machine is infected with the keylogger, then you should change the password every time or regularly, and use different password for different accounts. Use software that frequently scans and monitor the changes in the system or network. And also use the software which can detect the changes in this, which can scan and detect the changes of the system and the network. Then use pop-up blocker and avoid opening junk emails. So pop-up blockers, that means it will come as a pop-up, like when you're browsing some site, it will come as a pop-up and it will give you the warning like this and that, and you click on that and you will be infected by the that spyware and project. And don't open any junk emails. Scan the file before installing them on the computer, and use registry editor or process explorer to check for the keystroke logger. So if always scan your machine, and before installing scan any software, and then also register keep the registry checking, and keep the process explorer to process the check the process running in the background, so that you can see the keylogger process. Use live video, live CD, DVD, or write protected live USB for rebooting the computer. And it is also good idea to use the DVD to boot, and write protected USB to boot, live USB to boot your system. Then use automatic form filling programs or virtual keyboards to enter username and password. So you are not have to you don't have to press the key, so it is not going to be logged. So when you go to some banking sites, or most of all of the banking sites, they will give you the virtual keyboard itself. On the site itself they will give you the virtual keyboard, so that you don't have to press the key on your keyboard. So even if your machine is infected with the keylogger, it will not going to log any key, because you are not using any key to log in with the on these banking sites or secure sites. So, or also you can use the automatic filing program, which can remember your options, and then when you try to fill that option, it will automatically fill those options. Then use keystroke interface software, which insert randomized characters into every keystroke. These keystroke interference software do what? It will do interference between your keystrokes. So when you press some key, it will create interference between your key pressing and the system. It will generate some randomized characters. Then use Windows on-screen keyboard accessibility utility to enter the password or any other confidential information. So whenever you try to log in on any site or something, then you don't have to press the key to provide the credential. You should use the online keyboard, on-screen keyboard. and it is not going to record any keystroke. Then use Windows on screen keyboard. Then do not click on the link in unwanted or doubtful emails that may point to malicious sites. So as a phishing email do what it will try to make you click on those sites which is malicious and which will give you some malicious software or something. So just avoid to click on those links when you are not sure about the source of the email. Then for hardware keyloggers, that these are all previous tasks for the software keyloggers. But for defending against the hardware keylogger, we should do restrict the physical access to sensitive computer system like our server machines. So server machines must be keep into the physical security. Nobody should have the access to get the system, touch the system. Only the authorized person should have permission to touch those systems. Also some important systems. Then also periodically check your keyboard interface for extra component. See the interface like something extra is not connected there. Then periodically check all the computers and check whether there is any hardware device connected to the computer. Then lock the server room. Always lock the server room, and only authorized person should have access to go to the server room. Now for software keylogger, we can use the anti-keylogger. We have a Zamania anti-keylogger. It keeps tracks of who is doing what on your PC. And it monitors your PC against the bad guys and prevent any kind of attempts to record or steal your private data and blocks any kind of suspicious activity. So this Zamania do what Zemana would do. It is actually anti-keylogger, and it will also keep monitoring, keep tracks on your PC, so that nobody can do what it can steal your private data, steal your system keylogging and everything. There are other also like guarded ID. We have key scrambler, which will do scramble the key. So when you press some key, it will do generate the scramble keys. Then we have SpyCeltel free anti-keylogger, defense wall, HIPS. We have a light anti-keylogger. So we have different anti-keylogger softwares to secure our machine from keyloggers. How to defend against spywares? So first, regularly check Task Manager report and Microsoft Configuration Manager report. So always regularly check the Task Manager report and Microsoft Configuration Manager report. So if any unwanted process is there, it is running there, then it will be reported. You can check in the report and stop it. Then try to avoid using any computer system which is not totally under your control. So if suppose the computer is not under your control, so you should not do any your sensitive confirmation sensitive task on that. Like don't use it for the banking, don't use it for logging into your secure sites. Then update virus definition files and scan the system for spyware regularly. Then update the software regularly and use a firewall with outbound protection. Outbound protection is also necessary, because sometimes we in a default firewall, in a default Windows firewall, host based firewall, it do what, it will not block any outbound traffic. Outbound traffic, that means the traffic which is going out from your system. It is not coming in into your system. By default, firewalls do what? It blocks the traffic which is coming into your system, but it will not block the outbound traffic. Now we should also block the outbound traffic. It is not default blocked. We have to create the manual rule for it. Now what is the benefit of it? Like if the spyware is collecting your information and try to send it to the attacker without knowing you, that means what, it is trying to send the traffic outbound to your machine. So preventing the outbound traffic will do what? It will prevent this spyware to send the information to the attacker. Then adjust the browser security setting to medium for internet zone. Then enhance the security level for the computer. Be cautious about suspicious emails and sites. Then install and use anti-spyware software. Then perform web surfing safely and download cautiously. So don't download anything else, anything like whatever you have, you just want to download any pirated movies, pirated software. Don't do that. Do your surfing securely. Do not use administrative mode unless it is necessary. Always use a normal user mode, that means log in as a normal user, don't log in as an administrator. Then do not use public terminals for banking and other sensitive activities. So which is the computers which is not in your control, like in a cyber cafe and all. So these computers are not in your control. So maybe these cyber cafes or some public computers, they may use the keylogger or monitoring spywares to monitor the activity. So if you're using your banking things there, then your activity will also be logged. Do not download free music files, screensavers or smiley faces from internet. Again, don't download any free things, free music, pirated movies, pirated software which comes free. They are not good, they are harmful, they can be harmful. When you use those pirated softwares, you try to do it, you wanted to use it free, but it may comes with some spywares or keyloggers also. So they can get your sensitive information. Permanently delete cookies, cache, URL histories and temporary files on the computer when done web surfing. So always keep cleaning your cookies. Nowadays the latest browsers do what they do, clean the cookies automatically. But if it is not cleaning, then you should also clean these cookies and cache and URL history and also temporary files, so that if suppose your spyware is there in your system, it will not able to detect your information or activity. Do not store personal information on any computer system that is not totally under your control. Then there are some tools which is anti-spyware, someone like PC Tool Spyware Doctor. This PC Tool Spyware Doctor delivers simple protection against dangerous spywares. It stops and blocks spywares. It checks files before they can get on your system, get on your PC and compromise your computer. So we can use this anti-spyware to secure our system from spyware. And there are some other anti-spyware softwares are also available, like this Super Anti-Spyware, Kaspersky Internet Security, Secure Anywhere Complete, MaxScan, Adware, Free Antivirus, Spyware Terminator, Norton Internet Security, Spy Hunter, Malwarebytes Antivirus, Malware Pro, Spybot. Now, most of these softwares are not free, but some of them are free, but not all of them are free. So free versions don't give you more features, and if you want to get the full features, then you have to purchase these things. Next is rootkits. Now rootkits are programs that hide their presence as well as attackers' malicious activities, granting them full access to the server or host at that time and also in future. So rootkits replace certain operating system calls and utilities with its own modified versions of those routines that in turn undermine the security of the target system, causing malicious functions to be executed. A typical rootkit comprises a backdoor program, DDoS program, packet sniffer, log wiping utilities, IRC bot, etc. So basically rootkit is what? It is the same spyware, keylogger or trojan, but it do what? It will try to hide itself. It will not show anywhere, not even a process monitor tool. Like if you use the task manager to see the process, whether there is any unwanted process is running or not, then it will not show there also. If you use any other process monitor tool, then it will also not show there. Now it will do what? It will hide itself, it will hide the process, and that is called rootkit. So any spyware can also be the rootkit. It can be also a rootkit, it can also hide itself completely. So attacker places a rootkit by doing scanning for vulnerable computers and servers on the web and wrapping toolkit in a special package like games. Now toolkits, that means how you will install the rootkits. By knowing that this is rootkits, you will not do this because it is very harmful. So the attackers do what? It will wrap those rootkits in a special package like games. So it will tell you that this is the game, and when you or suppose it will wrap it with the game. So when you install that free pirated game, it can also install the rootkit in the background. This installing rootkit on the public computers or corporate computers through special engineering. It can also install this rootkit through the public computers or corporate computers. Now through social engineering. Then launching zero-day attack, privilege escalation, buffer overflow, Windows kernel exploitation, etc. Then means of a link and a bot from IRC, ICQ, etc. Now these IRC, ICQ we don't use nowadays, but when there was the IRC and ICQ messengers are there, then those messengers are used to monitor the bots and to send the instruction to the bots. Then objective of rootkit. So rootkit the root the host system and gain remote backdoor access. That means actually it wants to have a backdoor access with the root permission. Root means administrative permission. It do to mask attacker tracks and presence of malicious applications of process. So it will try to hide itself by the user's view that malicious applications or processes. To gather sensitive data, network traffic, etc. from the system to which attacker might be restricted or possess no access. So if the attacker does not have any access on those systems, then it can also use this to possess the access. To store other malicious program on the system. So once it is stored by the spyware rootkit, then what, it will hide itself and then it will try to install other rootkits also or other spywares, keyloggers or trojans. Now these are the types of rootkits we have. First, hypervisor level rootkit. It modifies the boot sequence of the computer system to load themselves instead of the original virtual machine or operating system. So basically this type of spyware do what? It modifies the boot sequence. Like boot sequence are like first boot the CD-ROM, then boot the DVD, then boot the hard disk, then boot the removable drive, then boot from the network, and then when you boot it, then it will go on with the multiple different steps like loading the library files, loading the kernel file, then loading the software files, process services and all that. So it do modify that boot sequence and to run itself first. That means whenever you start the system, it will run first itself and then it will run the other operating system, so that it will hide itself from the operating system, that when you run the operating system, it will not show that this rootkit or this software is run. It actually runs before the operating system. Then kernel level rootkit. This adds malicious code or replaces the original OS kernel and device driver codes. Now what is kernel? Kernel is actually the base and core program of the operating system. That means whenever whichever operating system you use, the kernel is very important. The kernel is the core program which interacts with the hardware and make the hardware work, and then the output will send it to user. So kernel is the core program. Now this kernel level rootkit do what? It will add the malicious code into the kernel or even replaces the original kernel with the pirated or malicious kernel, so that whenever you start the system, this kernel will work first, and whatever you do, give the instruction. You will use mouse, keyboard, whatever you knew, it give the instruction to the computer, it will go through the kernel. So when it goes to the kernel will create the log. Then application level rootkit. This replaces the regular application binaries with the fake Trojan. or modifies the behavior of the existing application by injecting malicious code. So these kind of rootkits do what? It can infect, it can put the trojans into or modify the existing application binaries, and can also inject the malicious code into the existing application, so it will become corrupt. So whenever you run that application, so with the help of those binaries or application, it will run itself and hide itself. Then hardware firmware rootkit. This hides in hardware devices or platform firmware which is not inspected for code integrity. So basically we are not able to, we basically don't inspect the firmware BIOS for the integrity of codes. So there is a code, malicious code, or there is a code or not. So basically we don't do that, so it can hide there also. Bootloader level rootkit replaces the original bootloader with one controlled by the remote attacker. Bootloader is the main bootloader file which loads the operating system. So when you start your operating system, so first it load the bootloader, and after that it will load the other operating system files, binaries and process and services. So it will do also, it can also, in fact, it will do what? It replaces the original bootloader with the controlled by a remote attacker. So it replaces the original bootloader and the bootloader which is controlled by the remote attacker. Then library level rootkits. This replaces the original system calls with the fake ones to hide information about the attacker. So it uses the dynamic link library, it changes the library files, replaces the original one to the fake one, so that it will run whenever the library file, those DLL file runs, it will give control to the attacker by running the malicious code and hiding itself also. Now how rootkits works? Remember, it is hiding itself, it is hiding the process basically. Hiding itself does not mean it is hiding the software. We use the spyware right now, Super Spy. It also hides itself. It does not show that the software is running. So when you run it, you will not able to see in the notification area and not even in the taskbar or anywhere in the notification area. But it actually runs. And when you go to the task manager, when you check the process which is running, so you will see the process there, it is running. It makes two things. To hide it, it makes a different name for it, so that it can be hide into the other process. So we can't easily guess that this is the malware or this is the spyware process which is running. So it looks like the normal process, so you don't understand that this is the exactly spyware or malware running. So it try to change the name of that process running, that process exe. Or this rootkit technique do what? It will actually hide the process. When you go to the task manager, or if you use any other process monitoring tool, it will not show this rootkit process. It will hide the process also. It can hide by doing this operating system hooks. It do create the hooks between the calls from the operating system kernel. So process before hooking. So it can use the hooks technique. So process before hooking and process after hooking, you can see it is adding some code here. So what, like a code section here, then import data section, then kernel DLL which is going to be executed. Now it do what? It will hook, it will add the hook. It replaces, rootkit replaces the first 5 bytes of the code with this jump. So first 5 byte is replaced with the jump. Now it jumps into the rootkit code. So it says find next file here and find my next file here. So it created the jump here. So when the code executed, so after executing this code, it will jump into the other code which is the rootkit code. Then it can also use the direct kernel object manipulation. This will do what? It will directly change the kernel calls. Whenever any process runs, it do calls the kernel. Kernel calls the process and then process reply. Like these rootkits hide a process by unlinking it from the process list. So it basically unlink the process from the process list. You can see here, like this is process 1 and it is going like here in the process 3, and then process 3 it comes under the process 1, and process 2 is completely hidden. Process 2 is not showing here because it is directly jumping process 1 to process 3, this kernel. Now these are the rootkits we have. These are like Horsepill and Greyfish. This Horsepill is a Linux kernel rootkit that resides inside the init RD, using which it infects the system and decisive the system owner with the use of the container primitives. It has 3 important parts: klibs, c horsepill patch, horsepill setup patch, and horsepill infect. So this horsepill is basically for the kernel. This is the kernel rootkit which hides the kernel process, kernel spyware process or malwares. It resides in the init RD, initial RAM disk, which runs just after the kernel. When your system starts, first the kernel will be loaded, and after the kernel loaded, then initial RAM disk file will be loaded. So it actually resides and infect with this initial RAM disk, and then do what? It will load itself by using this with this initial RAM disk, and it will infect the system and it will run the code from there. Then you have Greyfish. Greyfish is a Windows kernel rootkit that runs inside the Windows operating system and provides an effective mechanism, hidden storage and malicious command execution while remaining invisible. It injects its malicious code into the boot record, which handles the launching of Windows at each steps. So it also do what? This Greyfish will also infect Windows kernel and it will infect the bootloader here. So whenever the bootloader boots, it will boot first itself and do infect the system. There is another rootkits like these Serif and Nikos. These Serif rootkits are zero access, gives attackers full access to your system while using stealth technique in order to hide its presence from the affected device. It hides itself by altering the internal process of an operating system so that your antivirus and anti-spyware can't detect it also. Then this Nuichorus, it contains a backdoor functionality allowing remote access and control of the infected computer. It monitors and filters network activity and has been observed to send spam and install rough security software also. Now these are very harmful things. So even I don't have these also. So to show you this, and if you try to find it also, you will not able to find it. Now to detect the rootkit, detecting the rootkit. So for detecting the rootkit, we have these different types, different ways of detecting it. First, like integrity based detection. It compares a snapshot of the system, file system, boot records or memory with a known trusted baseline. So if you use this integrity based detection, in this detection what we do, we actually compare the snapshot of a file system, boot records or memory with a known trusted baseline. Like suppose I am using Windows 10. So what is the Windows 10 boot records? What is the baseline for that? Memory and known trusted it is like what is the baseline, trusted baseline we have. So with that trusted baseline we will compare our system baseline and our boot system files and records and memory. So if it is showing this match, if it is not matching with the baseline, that means our system is getting something wrong. Then we can use signature based detection. Normally the antiviruses do this signature based detection. This technique compares the characteristic of all system processes and executable files with a database of known rootkit fingerprints. So these techniques are basically used by the antivirus. Antivirus has all the database of known all the fingerprints database of the all known rootkits. So whenever you have some rootkit installed in your system, your antivirus can easily detect if it is in the database of the antivirus, the fingerprint of that rootkit is in the database of the antivirus. And that is why we say that always update the antivirus, so that it will have all the latest information about the latest rootkits and their fingerprints. Then we can do the heuristic or behavior based detection. Now this is also antivirus do when it does not able to detect the rootkits from the signature. Like if the signature is not available in the database, if suppose this rootkit is very new, it is the first come into the market. So when it installed, our antivirus will not able to detect it. But when it tries to do the thing, when it try to alter the system files, it try to do the malicious activity, then it can be detected by the behavior based detection. Because these rootkits or these spywares, malwares, these do what, they have some pattern. They have pattern to do these malicious things, because they try to disable some specific things, specific services, or try to hide their self. For that it uses some different techniques. So those techniques, those services, those things are known as a behavior of those rootkits. So it can be detected by the behavior of the rootkits. Then runtime execution path profiling. This technique compares the runtime execution path of all system processes and executable files before and after the rootkit infection. So it can detect where these runtime execution profiles are, path profiling, like this execution of the applications, where it is running from, the path of those execution files, what is the runtime path. So it will compare the path from after and before the rootkit infection. Cross view based detection. It enumerates the key elements in the computer system such as system files, process and registry key, and compares them to an algorithm used to generate a similar data set that does not rely on the common API. Any discrepancies between these two data sets indicate the presence of rootkit. It is again comparing the trusted baseline of the computer system such as these files, process, registry keys, and compare with them the trusted baseline things. So if it is saying any discrepancy, that means it is the presence of rootkit. Now steps of detecting rootkits. It's very simple steps. If you can do that, first step, run this command dir with -sb and ah option, and or even you can run it like dir sb and a-h option inside the potentially infected OS and save the result. So first you do this when your system is running and you assume or you feel like this system is having a rootkit. So run this, and then it will do what? It will show, dir command will do what? It will list all the directories, all the files in your system, and it is going to list all the things like hidden system file, bootable file, everything. It is going to list. It is going to list everything. Run this command under the C drive and do what? Save the output into a file. Then boot into your clean CD. Run. Then step 2 is what? Boot your operating system. Boot your machine with the clean DVD, installation DVD. That means run your machine with the DVD and go to the command prompt, and then run the same command again and save the output into the file. Now you have two outputs. One output when your operating system was running and when your operating system was not running. Now when your operating system was running, if the rootkit was there, then it will try to hide itself and try to hide those files and process exes and DLLs. Now when your operating system is not running, then what? It is not able to hide those files. So when you boot it from the DVD and try to run the same command, so whatever the output comes, it might be different and it will show some extra files and DLLs. So after doing this, you can compare both of the output files with the different softwares. You can run a clean version of WinDiff. WinDiff command is to check the difference between two files. So you can run this WinDiff command to set of result to detect file hiding hostware that is invisible inside but visible from outside. So from the inside, that means when the operating system is running, you are not able to detect it, but when the operating system is not running, then you will able to detect it. Like I will go to the CMD, I will run it as an administrator. I will go to C drive, then I will run dir command. Now when I run dir command, it shows me that these are the files and directories are under the C drive. But what I will do, I will run it with this /s/b/ah, and this is the big output. It is going to list every file and directory in your C drive, and the output is very big. I'm closing it, and what you will do, why you will save this output, you will redirect the output to any file, like we say inside.txt. Inside.txt, that means at the time when the operating system was running. Now it is saving that output into this file. Now I will boot my system from the DVD, clean DVD, which is not infected, and I will start the operating system from there. Now how you will do that? If you are using the Windows, you can go to the recovery mode, and you can go to the recovery mode, and then you will you'll go to the advanced troubleshooting option. There you will find the CMD, you will find the command prompt. From there you can run this command again. So let me save it, can I close it? Now I will boot it from the DVD. So I will restart it and boot it from the DVD. Now here I will select boot from DVD. Now when it boots, you will get the option to recover the operating system. Now from there you will go to advanced troubleshooting option, and there you will get the CMD also. So from that CMD you can run the command again. Now from here you will say next. From here you will select repair your computer. Go to troubleshoot, and here you will get the command prompt. Now you are getting the command prompt, and this command prompt you are getting it from the CD DVD. So your operating system is not running. If you check, these files are from the DVD. Now you will go to C drive, check. Now this is not the C drive, this is actually the system drive. This is the recovery drive. Actually this is the D drive. So let me check D drive. Now this is my C drive, because I know these files and directories. Now what I will do, I will run the command again here, and I have saved the output on the file. So this is the file where I have saved the output when it was running, operating system was running. Now I will run the same command, and this time I will save the output into another file. For example, outside.txt. And then after that I will try to compare both the files which is inside.txt and outside.txt. Okay, I am cancelling it, I am not taking all, but this is the way for doing it. So you can exit it, you can start your system normally, and then you can compare the files. For comparing the file, you can use WinDiff tool, this is command line tool, or you can use graphical tool. You can use Microsoft Word even to check the or compare the files, or you can use different ways. Then you can do reinstall the operating system or application from trusted source after backing up the critical data. Now remember, when the rootkit comes, these are very dangerous things. Like, it will infect your system, and then when it corrupts your system, then no way you can recover it. Your only option remain will be for reinstalling it. So you're not able to then recover it. That is why you have to take the backup regularly. So if your system goes corrupt because of these rootkits, then you can easily restore the system by using the reinstallation, and then you can restore the backup from there. Then stuff with ill-defined responsibility. This thing happens when stuff is ill-defined responsibility, that they are not responsible staff you have, so they do these things. So well-documented automated installation procedure need to be kept. Now installation must be very well documented, that what should be installed and what should not be installed. Use a strong authentication. Harden the workstation or server against the attack. Then install network and host-based firewall. Restore the availability of trusted restoration media. That is very important, because if in case after doing all the security things, in case your system is infected, then there is no option to recover it. You have to reinstall it to clean it. And when you reinstall, that means you have to remove all the data. You have to clean it completely. So you have to have the trusted restoration. You have to have the trusted backup available. Then update and patch the system, patch the operating system and application regularly, so it will not have any vulnerability that is used by these rootkits. Then update the antivirus and anti-spyware software regularly. That is very important. If you are having any antivirus or anti-spyware, that must be updated regularly. If you are not updating it, you are not using it. Do not install unnecessary applications, and also disable the features and services not in use. So unnecessary applications should not be installed, and also disable those services which you don't need. Verify the integrity of the system files regularly using cryptographically strong digital fingerprint technology. Then ensure the chosen antivirus software process rootkit protection. Avoid the logging in an account with administrative privileges. So avoid logging into administrator account regularly. Always use the normal account. Adhere to the least privilege principle. That means every user must not have the administrator privilege. They must have the least privilege. That means only the privilege they need to do their job, nothing else. These are the rootkit, anti-rootkit softwares you have, like Stinger scan rootkits, running process, loaded modules, registry and directory location known to be used by malware on the machine. We have Avast free antivirus, we have TDS killer, we have Malwarebytes anti-rootkit, rootkit buster, Unhackme, and many other anti-rootkit softwares we have. And most of the proper antivirus, if you use, so antivirus do all those things. It will work as a firewall, it will work as an anti-spyware, anti-rootkit, anti-keylogger. So if you have a good antivirus, so it can do all of those things, which is very important. Don't go for free versions, because free versions don't do much thing. Free versions basically do what? They indicate those things, but they don't stop those things. So always go for the genuine version. So this is what the spywares, rootkits we have, and how we can detect and how we can defend from them.